Welcome to Demasked. My name is Fresman, and today I'm joined by Norman's Index. Norman, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Freshman.
Absolutely. Now, we are just past Halloween. That was just a couple days ago as of recording, and I'm curious, did you do anything for Halloween?
I worked.
Same here.
I had to work. But yeah, it's all good.
I, I ended up going to a costume party after work, and I felt I couldn't change out of my work clothes, so I'm standing there in like a polo shirt. I'm like, I feel out of place.
Oh my gosh, I have a friend who he's like a horror fanatic. We've been friends for like 15 years or something like that at this point. And every year he throws a class. He calls it his classic Halloween party. And to get in, you have to wear a costume. You could be his absolute best friend. You could be his girlfriend. He will not let you in the door unless you have a costume on of some type. And he's one of those people who's very particular. Like yeah, you have to tell there's some effort. Like if you just put like a sign, if you like hang a sign in front of your shirt or something like that, he will not accept it. You got to be putting on like makeup and everything. And I went one year and it was one of those things. I showed up and what did I do? I think I just put on like a Jason Voorhees mask because somebody was like, "Hey, where we want to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't have a costume this year." And they're like, "Well, here's a Voorhees mask." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And I put it on. And I was wearing like a Hawaiian shirt and like cargo shorts or something like that. I show up and he's like, "Yeah, absolutely not." I was like, please?" He's like, "No." So he gave me like some torn up clothes and like a box full of like Halloween makeup, and he was like, "Go fix yourself." But yeah, I haven't been able to do a lot of that lately, though. Last few years, I usually end up working Halloween, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is.
I had to pull what's the word I'm looking for? You know, like the old like Superman cartoons where you had to step into the telephone booth.
Yeah, I
So,
do.
so, pardon me. Where, jeez. Uh, so during the Halloween party, I made a plan at work. I asked my partner to bring me one of my masks.
Yeah.
Uh, I have I mean you can see it on the Discord there, my pink and blue mask, but I have a good handful of masks that all have the same design.
Yeah, just got them.
Yeah, well, it's part of the whole idea behind the mask.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
But
Got to have that through line.
yeah, and so I'm like, hey, can you just bring one of my masks and like a spare shirt? And I should like it was at a coffee shop,
Okay.
and so I'm like, hi, honey, how's it going? Also, where is it? Where's what bag am I in right now?
What bag am I in? Well, that's a phrase.
well,
Uh,
because I consider the mask me, and I find it entertaining to like I'm here, but I'm also over there on my desk.
okay, yeah, I like that. It's like it's your personality, or what's the word I'm looking for here?
Yeah,
I don't know. For some reason, my brain just went to like Jim Carrey's The Mask, even though I know that's not what this is.
I want to buy, dude. So I found a website that sells masks, and they have a replica of Loki's mask.
Oh,
I
that's pretty
want to get
cool.
I want to get one so bad.
That's actually really cool. Man, as a kid, that mask, I don't know, that's like one of those like childhood trauma moments, like the first time he puts it on and how it starts more I don't remember how old I was. I was pretty young, but the way it morphs his mask, I was like, "Oh no, something's wrong."
Well, especially when he's like screaming into the camera and like clawing at it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
I went back and watched it maybe it was last year. And as I was watching it, I was like, why did this scare me as a kid? But, I can just imagine, like, as a kid, that's like the first time you see that. Because, like, the rest of the movie, once he makes the transformation, I was like, oh, haha, he's funny, man. His face green. That's funny.
Mm.
Haha. I like the color green. Um, but that transformation was just ooh. It's also that early CGI as well, so I think maybe there's some of that uncanny valley kind of going on there. So I
Well,
don't
that and
know.
there, well, that and there's this like, have you read the comics of the Mask?
No, I haven't.
Highly recommend.
Okay. Is it one of those things where the movie was inspired by comics?
So the movie is inspired. It's essentially a comic book movie altogether.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, it's the story kind of like it. No, it's the Mask comic,
Okay.
but it's the comic is an entirely different direction. It's like hyper violent. It's over the top, like 90s
Yeah.
gore.
Man, I guess I will have to check it out though. The '90s were such a special time for. This is so like this is one of these things that gets clipped out of context. But the '90s was such a special time for violence, like comics, movies, like anime. Oh my gosh. In that time, it was so brutal. I feel like things nowadays have been very toned down, unless you get into like very indie stuff. Like indie horror still kind of keeps up a lot of like that stuff going on. Like I guess like the Terrifier movies kind of come to mind.
Oh yeah.
Which I have not seen. I need to. I really want to watch those. I haven't watched them yet, but I've like seen some of the clips and stuff. And there's like one that I was like, oh, okay. Well, definitely need to watch this. So, but yeah, no, the '90s, like comics wise, definitely like hyper violence, big thing. Also the '80s too. '80s is like hyper violence mixed with like hypersexuality.
Well, it was
uh,
strange. It was strange because like the '80s is hyper violent, but with not that much in the way of blood.
right.
But then the '90s, it's like, oh, somebody got kicked in the chest and their whole spine explodes out of them.
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly how it was. It was like the '80s were like coke tripped violence, sex escapades, and then the '90s gets around. They're like, well, we're kind of done with cocaine now because those guys are all in prison or in rehab. But we kind
We're
of want to
dead.
we're dead. But yeah, here's violence, and oh yeah, we figured out these things called entrails and like brain matter and stuff. So here you go. And the color red, definitely.
You want to see a dummy get ripped in half? Check this
Oh,
out.
oh man, that's yeah. There's a lot of that stuff. Have you ever watched which I think this is '90s, but Akira? Have you ever watched Akira?
Yep.
Man, that movie. When was it made? I can't remember. It was either late '80s. Man, if it's like early '80s, I'm gonna kick myself. But I feel like it was like late '80s, early '90s, and man, the visceral nature of that movie, it gets me every time, and it's so surreal. I don't know, but it feels purposeful. That's kind of like the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, because there's like all that stuff that's like gratuitous violence for the sake of nothing, and then there's like the stuff where it has, there's like meaning and impact to it. Let's see,
I mean, then there.
1988. That's when it was.
Okay, 1 year after Predator.
Yeah, that was another good one. Neat.
That's how I dictate my '80s movies. Like, all right, this many years before Predator.
Hey, I mean, Predator is a good benchmark if there ever was one. It's such a great movie. I have not watched it in so long, though. I need to go back and rewatch that. I haven't watched the Hulu Predator movie Prey either, but I've heard it's
It's
really good.
it's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Predator as a concept, they've had all the like AVP movies and stuff like that, and I know there's like a whole niche of people that love them for like that goofiness, but I kind of really just wanted another like classic Predator, no xenomorph kind of thing, because that idea is so good, I guess.
Mm.
Jungle stalking with this like advanced technological alien with heat vision. It's just I don't know. I think Predator was also like the first movie that really kind of utilized a lot of like the heat vision stuff. You know,
Hmm.
I don't think there was anything like that before. It had a lot of stuff that was kind of unique. And then also, Arnold Schwarzenegger is, there being machismo man, and God, the other guy, I can't remember his name. A
Carl
lot of
Weathers.
Carl Weathers. Thank you so much. He's in so many things, and their like bromance in that is so good. I love it.
I'm a huge fan of Predator,
Yeah,
and I this is the topic of heavy debates between me and my parents because my mom adores like the xenomorphs.
yeah,
I'm like, but the Predators are way cooler. They got way more tools. And like, look at the cool masks that they're wearing. I say as a masked man on the internet.
yeah. That makes sense. That checks out.
That said, I haven't picked up a Predator mask yet, and I've planned to.
Yeah, you'll have to. If that's kind of like one of your things? You'll have to get the mask with like the whole wig and everything. That would be cool. That would be really cool.
I mean, I
Uh,
have long hair. I could just have my hair coming out the bag.
yeah, that's right. You do have a pretty massive. You have a pretty glorious mane, that's for sure. And here I am over here, battling baldness.
I forgot that I put out an update video that has my long hair in it.
Yeah, that was so like when you reached out and I kind of went over, that was like the first thing I saw and I was like, "Man, that's a glorious mane." I'm a little jealous, but what can you do?
Can you believe it all started with a bet?
A bet. Yeah. It's like a reverse bet. I feel like usually bets go with shave it all.
Well, that's where it started.
How did that go?
I decided to not shave my face or my like cut my hair for an entire year,
Yeah.
and by the end of the year, my hair had reached down my shoulders, and I'm like, you know what, I kind of like it. I'm keeping it.
Nice. Yeah. When I was in high school, I had really long hair too, and it's is yours reached its maximum potential? Does it seem like it ever gets any longer, or do you trim it now?
I've only trimmed it once, and that was because I had some split ends.
Yeah.
But if I look up, it reaches all the way to my tailbone.
Oh, dadgum. Yeah, mine got to like a little past my shoulders, and it did not seem to go past there. It kind of curled up though, so I guess that was what it was. Um, but going back to the Predator versus Alien thing, I just got to say this. I side with your parents on that one, unfortunately, Mr. Fressman, because Alien is absolutely one of the best like horror sci-fi movies or just general movies ever. I like Predator too. I don't want that to be a diss on Predator, but me personally, I love the original Alien. And what's really funny is I have not watched a lot of the other Alien movies. Like I have not seen start to finish Alien 2 or Aliens. So, it's really weird, but it's one of those things where I know it's not like the first one. So I have this sort of barrier of entry for me where it's like, well, I know it's kind of like more action-y, but I know it would be cool. I just got to sit down and watch it. But the original Alien is so good. Like the design, and just the way that story goes, the way they treat the monster. There's only one part of that movie where I look at it and say that's goofy, and everything else is great. And it's the
Oh,
part at the very end where they launch him outside and you can see the whole mannequin body and he gets
yeah.
blasted by the thrusters. That's the only part of that movie where I'm like, could have like cut that out, but other than that, it's great.
I, you know, for how, like, it's not that I hate the xenomorphs. In fact, like, the first Alien might be one of my favorite horror settings.
Right. That
Like,
universe is so cool.
well, like, specifically the Nostromo.
Yes.
There's something so lonely about the inside of that ship.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like even when you're surrounded by people, it's like, man, there's just like nothing in the next room, is there?
yeah, it's that scene where they're like, I think he's, I forget his name. I need to rewatch the movie, but it's when he's like, I think in the cargo hold, and it has all the chains and everything hanging down from the
Mm.
ceiling, and you have all this like water dripping and this moisture, and there's the cat and everything. It gives it this big grand sense of how big this like shuttle with, when you combine the Nostromo with its like cargo haul and everything,
Mm.
it kind of creates this gigantic sense of like how big this ship actually is. The other thing that I think is so cool, because we see in a lot of sci-fi, it's and this is not a dig, because it's good to have those stories too, but like the story of Alien is about space truckers finding something on the side of the road.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, it's like a truck driver going down, Route 66, and he sees this weird corpse in a blown up vehicle on the side of the road, and he pulls over, goes over there, and gets snagged by something. He shrugs it off, gets back in his truck with his driving mate, and stuff happens. That's kind of what the story is, and it's so cool to see that idea. It's like, yeah, it's future, it's space, it has all this cool stuff. There's aliens, there's this advanced race that is there for some reason, but all in all, the people in that movie, they're just truck drivers. They're not like some military organization or scientific group. It's just a bunch of normal people, which I find like cool. I try to come to some grand conclusion about this, and that's all I can come to. You'll find everything I say, and this will happen in future videos I make for sure, where it's just like, yeah, that's just really cool.
I look forward to the 6 hour dissertation on the Alien series. Just to cap it off with, it's pretty neat.
It's pretty neat. Yeah, I like it. It's fun. You should watch it. Yeah, gosh, that's something. I don't. It'd be cool to do, but there's been so many people do it. It's like, what's something new that I could say about it? Like a lot of the things or I say a lot of things. I've literally made 3 videos, so big whoop. But I'm trying to like do things where I have some type of sort of unique thing or perspective on it.
Mm.
Alien, it's cool. Watch it. It should just be like a YouTube short. Hey, Alien is cool. You should watch it. Also, this is a big mannequin. It's no CGI. I know that's weird to modern audiences, but you should watch it.
Hey, check this out.
Hey, check this out. Watch this trick. Goosh. Yeah,
I
I love it.
like I think it would be a fun examination of like Geiger's artwork in relation to Alien,
Yeah.
because like I have passing knowledge on human anatomy,
Mhm.
and watching the Alien films, and I understand as they go along they kind of get farther and farther away, at least in the environmental sense of like that engineer ship that they find.
Right.
But to look at like a hallway and you're like, that kind of looks like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I know not enough about H. Geiger's work. It's one of those things where you can see his influence in modern horror. It's kind of like like Edgar Allan Poe and uh, God, what's the father of cosmic horror's name?
Lovecraft?
Thank you, Lovecraft. I literally mentioned him in the last video. My brain is just melting for some reason. But you can see like their influence on modern work, and a lot of these things in passing. But I need to actually like dig in more on H. Geiger stuff, because like the stuff I have seen and like know about, it's so cool. And from what I can tell, or what I've heard in passing, and just like my general overarching kind of look, he basically like it's his whole shtick, of course, is like body horror.
Mm.
So it's like turning these normal things about your body and twisting it to be this horrifying thing. So, like, there's like thoughts about, like, say with the first Alien movie, about the face hugger and what it does. Essentially, it's impregnating a person with their seed. I'm trying to say this so it's like kosher, because it's you get what I'm trying to say, I hope.
Yes.
So, and it's like that idea, obviously, and it ends with that gratuitous chest burster scene, but the whole conceptual idea of it beforehand is it's essentially like assault in like a normal sense. So the idea is that it's playing on that theme without being very explicit about it, and it's also bringing men into that equation, which you typically don't, because it happens to a man, and that's not something that happens normally, and it's not a story. You see that story talked about a lot when it comes to like a woman victim, but not necessarily with a man. So it makes it even more horrific. But it's there's like a lot of other stuff like that. It seems like there's a lot of like social commentary on some of his work where it kind of pulls in these different things and he twists it and alienates it and does all this weird stuff to it. And apparently he has a lot to say about stuff, but he refuses to elaborate. So we're all out here in the dark, like, what does this mean?
What did you mean when you made that?
What did you mean by this? Tell me. Which is great, honestly. I prefer when people who make these interesting things don't directly tell you like what their meaning is. It's kind of like the whole Local 58 thing. Chris Straub is, obviously very kind of, he's a little forthwith on some stuff. Like he has made some clarifications, but he hasn't like outright said like what the whole thing is about, except that he doesn't like the idea of aliens. That's the only time I feel like he's come out and said something very specific. But I enjoy that because it allows us to kind of just, make our own story, which is fun.
Well, like with Local 58 in specific, it covers a lot of different aspects of horror. Like how do I word it? I love horror that makes me uncomfortable.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when it comes to, like, jump scares and whatnot, that's not really my bag.
Right.
But one of the first episodes of Local 58, it's a simple line, but for some reason it, like, shook me. And it's that news broadcast where it just says, go outside and look at the moon.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I just, like, oh
yes.
no.
Yes, that is like such a big thing because because it takes something so normal to us. We all have looked at the moon. We all go outside, most of us, and it's this thing where it's like it's a natural curiosity thing. You have an ESA or EAS broadcast saying, don't go outside, don't look at the moon, and it's like, why can't I look at the moon? Why? Like. And it just makes you want to look at it more. And then you get that extra bit with all the esoteric nonsense. And it's like, oh, wow. Okay. That's pretty weird. But yes, that part is good. There's like a few moments like that for me. And I think, and a lot of them, it's just like these little simple touches. Like during I'm assuming you've watched the series, right?
I haven't caught up all the way. I'm up until... Oh, jeez, where did I leave off? Oh, no, where did I leave off?
It's okay. You should absolutely watch it start to finish whenever you get a chance because I think the main videos, if you just, excluding the live stream broadcast that's archived, it's only like, I think it's like 23, 24 minutes. It's very short for how long this has been going on. It's very good. But have you seen I assume you've seen the contingency one. That's the government propaganda looking one.
I think, is that the one that's like die for your country?
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
That one has a slide in it. There's like a couple of things with that one. But there is a slide in that one. Let me find it real quick because it just, I want to get the wording right on it. Scrolling through my stuff. Where are you? That one's such a great episode. It's the most popular one. Um, but let's see.
I
It's
think.
this one. It's this one slide. There's a couple. The one where it's telling you to commit seppuku. We'll just use that
Hmm.
term because I don't think that flags anything. But at the end, it says thank you. It's just a simple thank you, like thank
Yeah.
you, like go commit self deletion. Thank you. And then it follows it up with join your neighbors, your family, your God. And then the next slide, the other one is like this message will repeat until there are none to read it. That that really got me. I was like, oh, that's so. Ooh, it just kind of gets under your skin. And then like the inclusion of like, you know, like infants and pets is just like this extra layer that just kind of bombs on top of all of that. It's so good. It gets
Well,
under your skin so easy.
that, I think it sort of makes you subconsciously register just how many people live near you.
Yes. Like, could you imagine walking outside? Like, like if you lived in an apartment complex or like a suburban neighborhood or something like that, and you just walked
Hmm.
out and you just saw these people laid out in their front yards, like looking up into the sky, dead. Like, that would be horrifying. Just doing something like that, or seeing somebody like going through with it, like that would just be and that's like the great part, you know. This is just implying this kind of stuff, and you know, it's not actually showing anything, which is the other part that kind of makes a lot of this really great, and why I like it so much. You should absolutely, totally finish it.
I
There's not a lot, and
I
he just released a new episode on Halloween too, which is pretty good.
I just had like this image pop in my head that was bone chilling.
Yeah.
like imagine imagine like a suburban neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
pretty well populated, pretty dense,
Yep.
and you're sitting in your house and that alert comes on your TV and you hear what sounds like a gunshot outside your house.
Yes.
But then you go outside to investigate and it's dark out and it's just dark enough that you can't fully see what's going on, but you keep hearing the occasional sound of gunshots, but coming from what seems like every direction at once.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, I just started thinking about this more, and like this should be like a fan movie. Somebody should make this a fan movie. Somebody make this a fan movie. I can't do it. I suck at that kind of stuff. But like you have that, and then you kind of hear like these distant like cries, like you know, like maybe like men and women that are like yelling and arguing, like very far off. You can only hear it faintly. You hear like
Hmm.
children crying, dogs barking. Oh, oh. Oh, and
but
then and
but
it's
then you
like and you just kind of frame it like somebody's like sitting in their living room, like just sitting down in their PJs or something like that, and this pops up on their TV, and then all this. Oh, that would be good. That'd be really good.
or the longer you're standing outside, the quieter it starts getting.
Oh man.
Like
Yes.
the sound just kind of not completely drops out, but just slowly,
Yes.
like people
No.
leaving a room.
Oh, that's that eerie like bad taste in your mouth that just kind of gets left there. It's like you hear all this commotion, you hear all this stuff going down, you know bad things are happening, you can't hardly see it, and then it gets quiet, and then you start exploring the neighborhood, and you come across the first scene, and that's where you cut it. Oh, I got goosebumps.
Or you just start. Oh no, or like you know how most people don't have lights like shining on their yards.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like you have a hard time seeing what's on the yard, but you notice a lot of front doors are open.
Oh, yeah, that would be a great detail. You just start seeing it because the front doors are typically they have like a light that sits like right outside.
Yeah, so you can
And
see into the house, but there's nobody there.
yeah, and then you have like the storm doors and stuff like that. They're just kind of like flowing in the wind or something like that, and they're like
Oh,
knocking up against the house. That oh man, that would make a really great fan movie. Oh my gosh, I wish I was a good cinematographer. Oh, somebody steal that idea, please. Somebody out there, make a movie. Do it,
Please.
please, so I can talk about it. That'd be great. Yeah, no, that is a great idea, I think, and it's so good. But yeah, that episode is so good. I think that's the one that really resonates the most with a lot of people, because it's so sinister and kind of straightforward, and it creates this really creepy atmosphere. But like you were talking about, you don't prefer like those jump scare kind of things. Um, and it doesn't have that. It's not a jump scare. There's no jump scares. Really, Local 58 throughout the whole series doesn't really have jump scares. There's like a couple of parts that you could, I'd say, argue is a jump scare, but it's not like a Five Nights at Freddy's type of jump scare. It's not like this big loud sound in your face. It's just kind of like these short implications of something horrible.
Mm.
Um, except for the latest episode. The latest episode was great until the very end, and it's like a personal preference for me. There's like a I'm not going to spoil it. It's new. You haven't watched it. You need to watch it. I'm not going to spoil it. It's still great, but I like that. It's like you get these little snippets of something horrible, but like most everything is just this implication. It's your world falling to pieces around you, and you have no idea like what's going on. It's everything's so strange and removed from like the norm. And it's a local broadcast station. It's meant to be an authority. Like you watch the news expecting them to give you, obviously there's like news biases and blah blah blah, all that good stuff, fake news, yeah, whatever. But local news is supposed to be kind of like an authority. You kind of trust that they're gonna have your best interest at heart. Being a local person, and it's like for them to have this stuff going on. It's
Go
like
outside and stare at the moon.
go outside and stare at the moon and become a moon thrall, please. Go do it. It's great. Join us. There are other receivers. Yada yada.
Check this out.
Yo, check this out. Brain delete. Yeah, I don't know. The series is great. There's a lot of other analog horror series that are great too. Have you watched any besides Local 58?
I've been trying to branch out, and I'm slow on the uptake, unfortunately. But one of my personal favorites, up until recently, but it's more so a style change that I didn't jibe with.
Hmm.
It's Mandela Catalog.
Ah, yeah. Yep. I hear that.
Because that one had I here I normally don't like jump scares, but if they're done well or like
They have to earn it.
yeah, but there's the it's when oh god I think the guy's name's like Mark, or it's something pretending to be Mark.
Yeah.
He like runs at the camera, but there's no loud noise. It just cuts to his eyes staring into the camera.
Yes. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I forget which episode that's from, but yeah, it's Mark's doppelganger.
I made the mistake of having like both my headphones in with the volume up, and the sound of him sprinting at the camera.
Yeah. It has that it has that 3D audio implement to it that really like I've watched most of these with headphones on, and like stuff like that gets me, and I'm like taking my headphones off and looking around me because I'm like, who's running up on me? It's like, oh no, it's the video. Oops. But yeah, that Mandela Catalog is also pretty great, and I totally get why so many people resonate with it, because it has a lot of themes kind of similar to like how Local 58 deals. They're different in like their themes and how they deal with things, because like Mandela Catalog has a lot of these like overt religious themes to it that are twisted in a way to kind of like betray like hope and faith, and that in and of itself is very very spooky, I think, personally. And the way he handles a lot of that stuff, it's really good. It's not my favorite, but I totally understand why so many people like it. It's very good. Have you watched Greylock by chance?
Now I was thinking about that one. I've seen Greylock, but I'm trying. Is Greylock the one? So I know there's like the mountain and
Yeah.
whatnot. but there's a specific scene in a analog horror I watched recently, and I can't remember the series. It's the lady that owns the dog kennels.
That's Greylock.
Yeah, that entire episode is like I'm so uncomfortable that it's like has me gripping the arms of my chair.
Yes, that. Oh man, that episode is so good. Dog Mom or whatever he calls it. They had like a little
Mm,
joke because the Greylock is made by Rob Gavigan,
mm,
but a lot of like the digital elements is made by another guy. He's like an indie video game guy,
mm,
and he made that. And apparently during their when they were working on it, they kind of gave it a little code name and they called it Dog Mom.
mm,
But yeah, that whole thing, that sequence coming up to it, and then that final reveal, that's the jump scare that earns it. I feel
mm,
like, because that's like 30 minutes. You're setting up all this stuff. It's eerie, it's creepy, it's setting these like psychological tricks, and it's pulling you in, and then you have this very like unsettling, dive down into this basement via like the body cam, and that reveal of that, it's like it makes me think of like John Carpenter's The Thing. It's such a good
mm.
callback, and it's so creepy, and it's held just long enough to kind of let you get a good look at it. Was so good. And I think, and the problem with analog horror in general is that it's all based off of people like in their homes making their own stuff, which is super cool. I love
Mm.
the fact that it's so accessible as a medium for people to kind of create these interesting, scary psychological stories. And just like the what's his face, Alex Kister, who made Mandela Catalog. He made like the whole first season or two on a cell phone,
Mm.
which I don't know how you do that. I was like, what in the world? And I started like trying to do some stuff, and I was like, there's no way I could do this. I would have to have a computer. But it's really cool. But I feel like one of the things that hamstrings it for a lot of stuff is that there's a lot of limitations to it, and limitations allows you to make better decisions, I think, with your storytelling. But Greylock, I feel like, kind of changed the game for a lot of it, and the fact that it was able to introduce body horror so successfully into it, like that with the dog mom, is like I feel like it changed things up, and now I'm thinking about what the next big one is going to be. I feel like it's going to have to tap into that somehow. Um, but like that's tough because you're talking about he had a guy that was really good with that who he paid to model all that and animate it and all that good stuff. Most
Mm.
people don't have that, unless you're the guy who made the Backrooms found footage tape, Kane Pixels. Most people
Mm.
don't have that knowledge or technique or funding, yada yada. So, but I'm very curious to see where things go, what the next big one is going to be.
So, have you? I don't think you'd consider it analog horror, but it has this very personal feeling to it. Have you ever seen unedited footage of a bear?
Uh, that sounds really familiar.
So, unedited footage of a bear is pardon me, is a project by like Alan Resnick and his comedy troupe. But they have this habit of sort of sliding into horror, but it's never like, look how spooky this is all of a sudden. It's like violently uncomfortable horror.
Yes. Is
And
this is this the same people that made This House Has People in It?
yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I can't recall. I may have I know that it exists, and I think I've seen some clips of it, but I've not watched it. I'm going to add that. I'm going to watch it.
So there's this I how do I word it? So the short itself is horrifying, but the adventure that it sends you on, like you as a person, is I would say objectively far more terrifying.
Yeah.
Because not only is there an entire website that you can go look at that also leads you down this rabbit hole of looking at photos of that house, not the this house's people in it, but where the events of unedited footage of a bear happen.
Yeah.
And like, even though it's still photos and you are just kind of clicking directions like a point and click adventure, I kept getting this like sinking feeling that somebody was gonna like sprint down a hallway at me.
Oh yeah, that's so good. That's I know exactly kind of what you're talking about.
And something that look, man, I'm closing in on 30, but there's a few things in this world that give me that like what's the word I'm looking for, like piss shiver scare.
Yeah.
And
That,
there's a if I believe if you go to that website and you look at like the inspect element, like if you look at the code of the website itself,
yeah.
there's a shot here. It's not spoiling anything, but I want you to see this like hold on, it's hard to explain. Um there's a yeah, okay. There's this shot that makes me uncomfortable and I can't explain why, because it's one of those uncanny things where you see it and you're like, this is not something somebody should be doing.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, damn it. There we go. It's just something about that there.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. That
And
the T pose.
but like, you see what I mean? Like,
Yes. Yes, absolutely. It's there's like so many things. It's simple, but there's so many things going on because like the street is totally empty. Like there's literally just there's one car. There's one car. Um there's nothing there and it's distant, but that pose and everything, yeah, no, I totally get it. It's very uncomfortable.
but here's the thing: if you go onto the website for like the medicine that's presented in that short, and you go look at the code for the website, there's an ASCII art image of her standing there like that.
Oh man,
And
I didn't
I
know that.
and I genuinely had like that childhood thought of like, I need to get the fuck out of here. I need to go.
Yeah, no, that's like one of those things that's so great with a lot of like these ARGs. It's like when you delve into it and you start interacting with it and then you find something like that on your own, that is like a different level of terror because you're interacting with this thing. You're not listening to the story. You're kind of creating the story at that point and you're interacting with all these elements and you're trying to find clues, and then you stumble upon something like that and it's looking at you. It's there. This is not a video you're watching. This is not a part of that. It's just this is this thing you were searching through and you get that in front of you. I can only imagine how scary that is. Woo. Yeah, that would be terrifying. I now that I see this though, I do remember it because it has that drug commercial in the middle of it that does
Mm-hmm.
this whole thing, and I remember that drug commercial. So I have watched this at some point in time, but I don't think I delved into the ARG elements. I think that's what I'm missing here, which is probably half of what makes this great. I'm sure.
Well, that and I so I think I've expressed it once or twice on this show, but I have what's known as autophobia.
Autophobia.
It is the fear of total isolation.
Okay. Yeah. I I know that I knew that was a thing. I didn't know it was called autophobia though.
I I knew I had it, and it took me like a while to try to like look up what it was.
Yeah.
But like it's not like oh, I'm alone in a room, that's terrifying. It's like, oh, I'm alone in my house and everybody's left for the night and it's just me.
Yeah, that's definitely something. I get stuff like that from time to time too, depending on like what's going on in my life or what I'm doing. I'll have so this past year, my wife, she left with our kids to go visit some people in a couple of states away, and normally like for the last 6 years, every time I go to bed, like there's people in my house. So this
Hmm.
was like the first time in years where I was completely alone at night. And it started out with, oh, this is great. I can just do whatever. I don't have to worry about the volume on the TV. I don't have to worry about making too much noise in the kitchen. I can listen to some music while I, do the dishes or whatever. And then I sat down, I turned out some lights, and I sat down, and I just kind of was like scrolling on my phone, answering some emails and stuff like that. And then I like looked up, and the whole house was totally silent, and it creeped me out.
It feels a lot bigger, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's like these little areas that feel like because it's like these rooms that normally have somebody in them. They're not there, so their noises, their presence, their whatever they do is missing, and it's like that space is completely devoid and empty. It's like an abyss is opened up in your house and it's swallowing things whole or something like that.
Hmm.
And yeah, no, I totally get that. It's not, I don't think I have it as a phobia, but I've had those little snippets of like, oh, this is really creepy. Um, as far as phobias go, mine is not as much fun, I guess. Well, I don't know if you'd call a phobia fun, but
Fun.
yeah, fun. I like to make fun of mine because it is fun and stupid and it's dumb. I'm dumb for having it. But I have thalassophobia or thalassophobia.
The fear of giant things.
No, that's gigantophobia. No, it's the fear of like water.
No, that's fair.
It's one of those things that I didn't realize was common until I got older and started meeting people that also had it.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more common than I thought. But growing up, I thought I was really weird because, like, all my friends, my family, they're like crazy water people. They love going to the beach. They love going kayaking. They love going swimming, like, or floating down the river and donuts and stuff like that. They love all that kind of stuff. And I hate it. I hated it.
I
Um,
I don't know why I thought you were slowly leading into like a Shadow over Innsmouth thing. Like, yeah, no, they're fish people.
hey, man, we could talk about conspiracy theories. I don't know about fish people, but there's some really cool lizard people theories out there. Oh man. The I. Oh, that's a whole rabbit hole. There's so many things that get strange. The world is stranger than fiction, that's for sure. But no, it's I don't know where it came from, but I remember I saw the ocean for the first time like 5 years ago. I think I was at Myrtle Beach, and we went. I was with my girlfriend at the time. She's my wife now. She's a water baby. If she's in the water, she's happy, or if she's next to a beach, she's happy.
I thought.
Um,
Sorry, if I recall, water baby means something else entirely.
It might be. It might be. So everybody, if that means something else, I did not say that, and you cannot hold this legally against me in any form or capacity. I say this with ignorance. She is a water person. Let's change it. Because now that you say
Mermaid.
that, a mermaid. She's a mermaid. She's fish people. She is fish people. I married fish people. I'm trying to get to the bottom of this, so I married them. Um, but anyways, she was like, we got there. There's like a camp. It's like we camped in a tent on the beach. It's beautiful, and it had this big sand dune that disconnected the campground from the ocean. So you have to
Mhm.
like walk, like 100 yards to actually get to where you can see the ocean. So we walk over, and she's just like, I'm so excited. We're here. I can't wait to, dip my toes in some salty water and hang out and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to read this, book about love and stuff on the beach under an umbrella. And I looked at the ocean, and my whole brain started. It was like I was looking at myself in third person, and it was just like there was this old mariner narrating in the back of my head going, "Vast and deep is the sea, wary to those that trespass its dark inky depths. Lo, doom upon you." And it was like surreal. Like I just had this existential moment, and I was like, I am nothing. That thing is huge. It was weird.
Or have you seen The Lighthouse?
No. Oh, it's like on my list, okay?
Do it.
I know. It looks I know it's good. I know it's good. I've seen all the stuff. I mean, and William Dafoe is great. Like I know I'm going to love it. Like everything I've seen about it, I know I'm going to love it. It's on my list. I got to watch it. I live in a household that hates horror though.
Well,
I know my wife is a total weenie. So, she has like super high anxiety, so anything like horrific just sends her over the edge. So usually when I watch something, it has to be like after everyone's asleep. So I have to stagger things out. But it's on my list. I know I'm gonna love it. I know it's gonna scare the piss out of me though, because it's a lighthouse.
So prior to where I'm living now, I ostensibly lived in like an analog horror type deal.
Oh my.
Like the perfect setup for something to happen, and thankfully nothing happened.
Okay. Continue.
A converted tiny home, essentially a shed that's been turned into a house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In the middle of absolute nowhere.
Okay.
Not, I should mention, not in like a forest, in the middle of a field, and at night. So during the daytime, not spooky at all. It's actually very peaceful out there.
Yeah.
But at night, so I would argue it's worse that there's light out there because the house was attached to like a telephone pole.
Okay.
With a street light, but the street light projects this giant ring of light just around the house.
Yes.
And then past that is absolute darkness.
Yes. That is great. I mean, not for you when you lived there. That I'm sure it was awful, but
to save on time and water, if I ever had to pee, I'd just go outside.
As you do, yeah. I do that.
And so I wandered over to like the edge of the light, and I'm going, and I kept like involuntarily like checking over my shoulders.
Yeah.
Like not like, oh, if somebody sees me peeing. It's like, no, I'm waiting for somebody to come sprinting out of the darkness.
Yeah.
Like somebody I don't know just barreling down.
Yeah, somebody just starts sprinting straight at you, and they're running full stop, and they're just like, I see your penis.
It's like cursed land. How dare you pee on my land?
Yeah, something like that. Do you know what this land is for? No, when you were setting all that up, I was imagining like this picture you sent of the unedited footage of a bear. That person. Sorry, I have to. Just that standing out at the edge of the light zone. Oh man, that would be good. And it's like they don't do anything; they just stand there.
So there's something I do when I'm home alone, and I get it's probably not healthy, but like I have to. I check the windows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not even like, oh, I gotta check if they're locked. I'm gonna glance out of every window in the house.
Yeah.
And I told a previous guest this. It's been like 5 years. Actually, you know what? Funny enough, you mentioned Terrifier earlier. I've had David Howard Thornton on.
Really, dude, that's a get. That's so cool.
And it was
Nice.
surprisingly easy too.
From everything I've seen about that guy, he seems like an absolute pleasure.
He is. He's a sweetheart.
Yeah, he seems like it. Like it's so funny. The contrast. You know, it's weird when you look at a lot of these people who are in like indie horror and all this kind of stuff. Um, they're like the nicest, most genuine people. It's so weird. You'd think these people would be depraved, coming up with all this crazy, horrific stuff, and typically they're like the nicest people.
Or there's like Tom Savini, like the godfather of gore effects and tearing people in half, and he's the most like calm, reserved person.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's weird. Or what's his face? I can't remember his name. He's the lead singer for Cannibal Corpse. That
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Where
he's
he
like most wholesome person like in, metal. It's great. I love it though. It's so good.
where he
One
goes and wins claw games and then donates the toys.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I love seeing those pictures of him doing that in his little halls. Like it's very heartwarming. I don't know if you've heard of them or not, but one of my favorite metal bands is August Burns Red. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not, but
I think
uh,
I've heard the name, but I don't think I've heard anything of their work.
they're it's metalcore, so like if you like metalcore, they're good, but if you don't like metalcore, it's you won't like it. But they're really heavy. It's all screaming. It's all very fast chugs and double bass. But they have
Mm.
this fun tagline. Because if you listen to their music, it's like, oh yeah, you can start imagining them like what they look like. Your typical like heavy metal group or something like that, where it's like
Mm.
grungy, messy hair, and all that. But they have this tagline, and their tagline is "Angry music for happy people." And
I
that's what
love that.
it's great. And then when you look at them, it's so funny. They look like they. I joke not, but do you know like the models that like Aeropostale and American Eagle would use? And they
Yeah,
always have like, the blue jeans with like the flip flops and the polo shirts and all that with like the pastel colors.
yeah.
That's them. That's what they wear when they go to shows. They're like polo shirts and blue jeans and flip flops. Like they're not wearing all black and chains, and they don't have like the makeup or anything. They're just like they just put on a polo shirt and some blue jeans, and they throw on flip flops and call it a day. And they get out there and they're like, "Hey guys, you ready to throw down? All right, we're gonna start this off with Backburner." It's so great.
Hey
But
there, folks.
hey there, folks, are you ready to start the mosh? Let's get down. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, it's fantastic. I love them dearly. But yeah, their tagline. That's what it makes me think of when we were talking about all that. Just to bring it round robin. I can chase rabbits, man. Oh, I should have warned you about that.
No, don't worry. Like that is the purpose of the show. Like there is no set like flow to it.
Yeah, you told me that because when you asked me, I was like, man, I've never done anything like this before. What do I do? Like, do I need to like prepare? Like, I was taking a shower and brushing my teeth, and I was like, what do I talk about? Like, what is he gonna ask me? Like, I hope I don't say anything wrong. I don't know why. I was like all in my head about it. So yeah, you're the first person that's ever had me or asked or done anything like this. So it's fun. I have enjoyed it.
I have planned for, and I don't know who I'm gonna do it to, but I want to like normally I don't ask super personal questions.
Yeah.
Like if somebody like me hides behind a mask or uses a pseudonym, I'm not gonna be like, hey, what's your real name? You know?
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, yeah. That's like a big thing. That's I feel like online anonymity is pretty important, especially with stuff like YouTube. There's some pretty interesting people there.
Well, well, that and I think the idea of what's the word I'm looking for? Not playing a character, but presenting yourself as something other than a standard normal person is important because it's a way that you can open yourself up.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's that Japanese. I think it's Japanese. I'm sorry if I get this wrong, but I believe it's Japanese. That Japanese proverb of the three faces.
Mm.
You have the face that you show everybody, the face that you show your friends and family, and the face that only you know. I think that's really something that is absolutely true. Because and it doesn't have to necessarily be sinister or something like that. It doesn't mean that everybody's like some type of weird and crazy person, but we all have our quirks that we don't necessarily want people to know about. It's like sometimes
Yeah.
it's just embarrassing stuff. That's like, oh, I don't really want people to know that I'm in the feet or something like that. I don't know.
Th-
That was
th-
the first thing that comes to mind. That's going to be some bad. That's a bad take.
Say this just in: Norman's index is in defeat.
Whew, boy, that's going to get clipped for sure. Oh man. It's really funny. I was thinking about this. I saw a YouTube video where someone did this. It's God, I really hate that I cannot remember their channel, but they're like a screenwriter. And they had a thing where they were on a boat and they just had their feet up on like the boat's console, and they
Uh,
had their feet blurred out. And I thought that was just like the best touch that he blurred out his
yeah.
feet. Like the whole time I'm like listening to what he's saying because it's like good information, because he's talking about like storytelling and framing when you're talking about like a screenplay.
Mm.
And but the whole time I'm just looking at his blurred out feet, like that's so funny. So as an idea I thought about maybe doing sometime in the future, because I've got some real gross feet I don't want anybody to see, but I think it would be really funny. But yeah, no, I totally appreciate that and understand that. And I mean, I kind of do the same thing. I believe it or not, I also wear a mask, kind of, even though you may not be able to tell, but that's on purpose.
Yeah. I can see that. Like, sort of present yourself outwardly more so or differently than you would, in your usual at home life.
Yeah, because at my at-home life, I'm an absolute total goofball. I tell like way too many dad jokes. Yeah, it gets pretty ridiculous sometimes. So I try to kind of tone it down for that kind of stuff, even though sometimes some of it gets through. I had like one joke that I went through, edited that whole dang hour and a half long video, and I got to the end. I uploaded it to YouTube, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like, I put it on in the background just to make sure that everything uploaded correctly. And I got to some point where I made a terrible like joke, and I
Mm.
laughed about it, and I started cringing in my chair so hard. I was like, oh no. And then I was thinking, well, nobody's gonna see this. This is not gonna be that big a deal. Like it's I'm just putting it out there for fun.
I
Like
gotta
most people are.
delete this.
I was like, nobody's gonna watch that far into the video or anything like that. And like there's it's got a little bit more attention than I actually thought it was. So
Mm.
now I'm kind of like, somebody's gonna find that and they're gonna say something about it, and it's gonna be embarrassing. But we'll just that's a bridge we'll cross when we get to it, I guess.
I
uh,
well that like I actually so I had a discussion about my mask recently, not the metaphorical mask or the the id, the ego, or the super ego,
yeah.
but my quite literal mask. I so at the advent of my channel, I I like the idea of like what's the psychological torture is not the correct word, but
That is a harsh word.
right, uh, but like I like seeing how different people react to different stimulus.
Yeah.
That said, it's not like I'm going to Pavlov response anybody. I'm not tasing anybody or anything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
but I have a theory regarding my mask and my pseudonym that I feel has worked, like has proven my hypothesis that the fact that I am presenting myself as a technically faceless person and you are unaware of not only my features but my name uh, leads people to open up more in discussion.
That that is interesting, and I can see exactly what you mean because especially when you're doing something is like this, for example, like an interview. If you were to say do something like this in person, mask off and all of that, there's a lot of tells that come from just your face,
Mm.
and there's a lot of because and this is not meant to be come off as like I want to seem like a judgy person or anything like that, but you
Uh-huh.
naturally make yeah, you naturally will make like subconscious judgments about a person based off of just the way their face is formed and like
Oh yeah.
their expressions, and it's a part of like our fight or flight response, because we're always like seeking little things here and there to kind of figure out, it's like a threat assessment system. It's like because if somebody starts furrowing their brows, you kind of know that means something
Mm.
usually. So yeah, I can see what that because that kind of takes all that off the table. So the only thing you're working with is like the audio inflections that people have, which is its own communicator, but you are taking one less thing out of it. So we're talking like like Daredevil levels of like introspection, taking away all those senses. I guess I don't know, but yeah, no, that makes sense to me. I get that.
You will be blinded upon observing me.
uh, don't look under the mask. Don't look under the mask. Don't look under the mask. You start to slowly take it off, and there's like this little light start beaming out from underneath, and it cuts over to whoever you're looking at, and they start going, "Oh my god!" And, Indiana Jones face melt cue. Everybody, you heard it here first. Fresman is a incorporeal being of cosmic proportions beyond our own understanding. Do not look under the mask. It is a futile event. Nothing is worth the risk. Nothing is worth the risk.
What, what's funny is you're damn close to the lore of my mask.
Woohoo! I guess I'm pretty good at this whole thing then. That's
the,
awesome.
the general idea is that it is a cursed mask that whoever puts it on becomes me.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I like it. That is
And I,
cool.
and I believe where I left it off is I'm technically like some homeless guy's wearing me right now.
Okay, yeah. No, I like that. That is a cool bit. I enjoy that a lot. The fact that it's like the mask is the because yeah, it's like the Loki mask. Well, maybe not quite like the Loki mask, but
Instead of getting cool cartoon powers, you're now 6'2" and have high blood pressure. Good luck.
yeah. No, it's like, oh, I thought this was gonna be cool.
Man, my chest hurts. I don't.
It's like, man, I thought I was gonna be able to do something really cool, but man, why does my chest hurt so bad? Ah, no, I totally get that. I have a similar thing. I've kind of been setting up. I guess it's lore, because I've been from the start of mine. I didn't want to go too, crazy on it or anything like that. But I do have like my own ARG elements I have embedded into my channel with different little clues, and so far nobody has found them. Obviously, like my channel's still small, like it's big whoop. But I really am looking forward to the day where someone points something out and they're like, "Hey, did somebody notice this, or is that just me, or is that something to do with what he was talking about?" Because I have these little things, little Easter eggs poked in there, because there's actually a bunch of stuff that I really want to talk about, but I got a lot of lead up to it. But so far, nobody's noticed. We'll see. We'll start seeing. I hope.
I, I'm waiting for like the rap background of like, and here's a 2-hour dissertation on all the ARG clues you've missed.
Ah, Yeah, it's funny because it's like it going back to the whole when we were talking about H. Geiger, how he doesn't really like to talk about his stuff. I don't want to do that either. I want it to be fun. I want people to make their own conclusions and stories about stuff. Um, and I want it to kind of build up to the event where I finally do the thing. But the video I want to make that I, have in my mind talking about this stuff is I've been putting together stuff. I've been trying to fact check because with the local 58 video I made, I do my own research obviously on this stuff, and when I talk about real world stuff, I try to be as careful as possible because you're talking about real events, real people, real lives. So I think it's important to represent that stuff as accurately as possible, whether it's good or bad. Especially for recent stuff, like when you're talking about people who are still alive, or it's like recent, like within the last decade. I think that's important. But when it comes to the like the local 58 stuff, like it's fictional, obviously, or is it? But so I'm not as worried about making sure every little detail has to line up as far as being like represented in a certain way. It's because I'm just trying to like this. It's an exercise in trying to probe the creator of Local 58, Chris Straub's mind. It's like, okay, where is he getting this inspiration from? What does this mean? Blah blah blah. And it's like you're just looking at things like on a surface level because he might also just do that as well. So it's not as important. But the video I really want to make is about a very major. It's a series. It's a trilogy of events that are all connected. That is, it's very conspiratorial in nature, but there's a rabbit hole that goes down into it. And I feel it's one of those things that I'm actually kind of passionate about with this kind of stuff. I feel like it's an important thing. It's not just like a fun topic. It's an important topic that people should know about. That I don't feel like a lot know, but the problem is it's gonna be like legit like a 4 to 5 hour video, and I'm like, oh god, I'm like trying to get FOIA documents and stuff like that, and like these court hearing documents and photographs, and there are some people still alive from the events that I want to try and at the very least reach out to. It's something that eventually will come, but God, I don't know when that's going to be. That's going to take absolutely forever. But
The only like without giving it away, because I know you want it to be a surprise. My my brain immediately was like, "Are you covering the JFK assassination?"
okay, all right.
Uh-oh.
So I have a those composition notebooks. You know what I'm talking about? I have one of those. Okay, I have a stack of those. All right, I actually have like 10 of them on my bookshelf. And I have one of them that is just full of topic ideas. Okay, I just basically what I'll do is if I think of something or find see a news article about something or anything like that, I will get this book out and I will jot down the idea and move on. In the top 10 ideas is the JFK assassination conspiracy. So you're 100% kind of hitting the nail a little bit. It's not the idea I'm talking about. But it's in that same kind of vein of idea. It's a massive. But the JFK assassination conspiracy is absolutely a massive one, and there's so much to dig through because 100% there's some stuff that is weird with that whole thing, from the bullet to the assassin to the building he was in and everything that went on down through that. It's such a rabbit hole. I want to cover it, but it's one of those things. Again, it's super important, and I do not want to misrepresent things because I love conspiracy theories. I absolutely love them, but I also don't like when people they become manic almost and they start just to believing all this wild and crazy stuff. Like it's fun to talk about lizard people. Like it's fun to talk about. I love talking about lizard people. Do I really think there's lizard people? No, I don't. But with every crazy thing, there is a nugget of truth there somewhere that inspired that thing. So even if it is crazy and there's no lizard people, it's like, okay, well, where does lizard people come from? Why do so many people think of this conspiracy? But on the other hand, there's stuff that happens that are like crazier than fiction. Like just think, and here's the thing too. The reason why I like them so much and believe several of them is because some of these conspiracy theories have been proven to be true. Just look at MK Ultra and all the weird stuff the CIA did with that. Like that is factually a thing that happened that is absolutely insane. So what's to say that, you know, a couple of three-letter agencies in conjunction with the mafia decided that they didn't like JFK anymore and, you know, had him drive in a convertible through Dallas. You know, there's some weird stuff there, for sure.
So, speaking of lizards,
I like that segue.
well, so okay, pardon me. I have so during the most recent pandemic.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me. There we go. But during the most recent pandemic, with all of these like conspiracy theories of like they're tracking you through the vaccine.
Yeah. Through the 3G networks.
And I remember I was standing in a converted Rite Aid that had been turned into a vaccination site. And I'm waiting in line, and I'm standing next to the guy who, like, you know, is picking people, you know, hey, you're up next.
Yeah.
And I go, hey, man, you know, I've seen a lot of conspiracy theories on, like, Facebook, unfortunately, of, like, oh, the shot's going to turn you into a lizard. And me and him at the same time went, who wouldn't want to be a lizard?
Yeah, man. It's probably great, you know, except for the whole not being able to, you know, tolerate cold weather.
Well, we had the thought, we were sitting there like, yeah, you get your own rock to lay on. You can just shed your skin when you feel like it. It'd be great.
Yeah, you get all these other things. I'm sure there's some type of benefit to having a tail, you know. Who wouldn't want that?
And after I got it, so the people I was working with at the time were like anti-vaccination.
Yeah.
And so I walked into work the next day. I'm like, yeah, I got the shot. They're like, oh my God, how do you feel?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm not a lizard yet, unfortunately, but I'm working on it.
Yeah. Gosh, that whole thing was such a, you know, that's a thing we're going to be studying for years to come. I know, like that whole response to it. Which here's the thing, like there's like everything, there's multiple sides to a story, and it's like traditionally vaccines take a long time to develop, and they developed that one very quickly. And like with any type of vaccine, there's always side effects. And I think a lot of people just got really, really spooked out about the side effects, even if it, you know, was pretty low statistically. People always are going to clue in on the bad stuff, you know, and focus on that stuff. And obviously, too, everybody's headspace was not great because everybody was staying inside at home, being secluded from their family and friends. So you couple stuff like that mixed in with a little bit of like cabin fever, and you're not going to get a good outcome. Like there was no way any of that was going to be great. And, you know, in America, we do things different than the rest of the world. Let me tell you, God bless the Queen. Psh, don't care about no Queen, but let me tell you something. I got my own wheels, and I will do as I want, you know. So, yeah, I love America, by the way. That's not meant to be totally. But let me just say, I'm not like an America hater. I love where I live. I think we're a great country. Do we have our problems? Absolutely. I love talking about them, too, and I will. But you look at the world and all the stuff that happened with that, and it's like every place had some weird thing that happened in regards to that whole lock-in. Like what they were doing down in Australia is like the other side of the spectrum. Like the dude that got arrested on his kayak in the middle of the ocean. Like what? What? It was like that guy's social distancing. He's doing a pretty good job.
He couldn't get farther away.
He couldn't get farther away. He's got a higher chance of a shark attack out in Australia than he does contracting COVID. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But yeah, it's funny. But yeah, no, it's an unfortunate thing that you're not a lizard person, or are you? Can't tell. The mask.
Guess we'll find out.
Somebody check this man's pants drawer and make sure there's not a third leg.
You're just gonna say check his man's pants. I'm like, what is that? Check for a tail?
I'm gonna give you some clip stuff. I'm gonna get you some clip farm going on here. I've said all kinds of unhinged stuff.
I'm gonna put some stuff on the YouTube Shorts.
Yeah, feel free, please. Man.
But with that, man, I am running late. I know we were said we were gonna do a half hour, and that was.
Yeah, hey man.
Minutes ago.
Yeah, dude, it's been a blast. I really appreciate you having me on. I had a good time, and I am, if you want to have me on again or something like that, I would love to. So it is an honor and a privilege, man. I really appreciate it.
You beat me to my question. I ask every guest the same thing. Would you be open to coming back as a return guest?
Absolutely, I would. I had a blast. This was a lot of fun. I don't get to talk about some of this stuff all the time. A lot of my friends that are into this kind of stuff kind of, as you grow old, you move away into different areas, or they move away. So I don't get to do this a lot. So it's been a blast. I had a good time. Hey, did you find my stuff, or was I recommended to you by someone?
You were recommended to me.
Okay. Can I say something about the person that recommended me?
Yeah.
And this is not like a doxing thing or anything like that. But I just want to do a short message. I think I know who you are. And that sounds really sinister. I wasn't going looking for it, but it's just like, little context clues. It's the way my brain works. That's why I do this stuff. But I just wanted to say, I think you left me a sweet message on one of my YouTube videos. And I just want to say, I was trying to type a comment and I could not think of anything to say, but I just really want to say thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate those sweet things you said about me. It is very heartwarming, warming, and very encouraging, and I appreciate that so much. And I really hope you have like a great week and all that good stuff, happy trails, all that fun stuff. And I appreciate it so much. I really hope you watch my new stuff and my old stuff, yada yada yada. Watch all of Fresman's stuff too. This guy's cool.
And before I forget, before we get out of here, do you have a video that you are particularly fond of that you've made that you would like to see in the description of this video?
Oh, all these great videos, all three of them. So I'll just do a fun one. I don't, because one of them is kind of heavy, like really heavy. Like I teared up in it. And I felt really lame about tearing up in it because it's such a heavy topic. But I made a video titled what actually did I call it? My brain just is special. It's called The Most Gross and Brutal Incident of the Medieval Era, the Erfurt Latrine Disaster. It is a fun little historical footnote from the 12th century about a really gross thing that happened to royalty, and I think it's fun and interesting. Go watch that. It's a lot shorter than the Local 58 video, too. It's only 25 minutes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And with that, party people at home, thank you for sticking around to the end. This has been an absolute blast. I've really enjoyed talking to you, Norman.
Awesome. It has been a pleasure. I've enjoyed talking to you as well, Fresman.
Absolutely. And with that, links to the channel and your video will be in the description below. But with that, this has been Demasked. My name is Fresman, and I'll see all of you next time.
Awesome. Ciao.